what happens after we die? I mean, really, think about it. It is the question, isn't it? It's the one thing every single human being has probably wondered about at some point. It's so powerful. It's literally shaped entire civilizations, inspired incredible art, and guided the lives of billions.
Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are tackling a big one, maybe the biggest one of all. We're going on a journey through the huge, sprawling landscape of beliefs about what happens next. So, let's dive right in.
Okay, so before we go any further, let's get on the same page. What do we even mean when we say the afterlife? Well, at its heart, it's this fundamental idea that some part of you, call it your soul, your consciousness, your identity, whatever you want, doesn't just end when your body does. It keeps going.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting. When you sift through thousands of years of human history, all the different cultures, all the religions, the answers to that big question pretty much boil down to two main paths, two big ideas. And the difference between them is, well, it's huge. You can think of it like this. Is the journey a circle, or is it a straight line? Are we on a cosmic Ferris wheel, a cycle of returning to Earth again and again in new bodies? Or is this life a one-way trip, a linear path to some final, permanent place, like a heaven or a hell?
So let's take a look at that first path, the cyclical one. This is the idea of rebirth or reincarnation, and it's an absolutely central pillar for major Indian religions, but you'll see it popping up in other philosophies too. This whole endless cycle, being born, living, dying, and then being reborn, has a name, samsara. But it's not just some random lottery. No, there's a system to it, a kind of powerful moral engine driving the whole thing. And that engine is karma. The idea is basically cosmic cause and effect. Everything you do, say, or even think in this life leaves a kind of moral footprint. That's your karma. And the sum of all that karma is what directly decides the circumstances of your next life. Pretty powerful stuff. Now, you probably associate this whole idea with religions like Hinduism and Buddhism, and for good reason, but it's not just them. This concept of coming back again was also talked about by ancient Greek thinkers like Pythagoras and Plato, and you can even find versions of it in some mystical traditions like Kabbalah in Judaism.
Okay, so let's switch gears and look at that other path, the linear one. In this view, this life isn't just one trip on the Ferris wheel. Nope, it's a one-shot deal. It's a single, all-important test, and at the end, there's either an eternal reward or, well, an eternal punishment.
This idea of a final judgment day goes way, way back. We're talking thousands of years. You see a really detailed version of it in ancient Egypt, and it's the absolute cornerstone of what the major Abrahamic faiths, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, believe about the afterlife. And the Egyptians, wow, they had such a vivid picture of this. Imagine this. After you die, you're brought to this hall, and your heart gets put on a scale. And on the other side, a single feather, the feather of Ma'at, the goddess of truth and justice. If your heart, weighed down by all your bad deeds, was heavier than the feather, a demon named Amit was waiting to devour your soul. It would just be gone, forever.
It's really interesting how you see these parallel ideas of heaven and hell pop up in different belief systems. You've got paradise or Jannah in Islam and Svarga in Hinduism, hell, Gehenna or Jahannam in Abrahamic faiths, and Naraka in Hinduism. What's kind of unique to the Abrahamic traditions, though, is this idea of an in-between place. Like purgatory or barzakh, a sort of waiting room or purification spot before you get to your final stop. Okay, so that's a quick tour through thousands of years of faith and philosophy. But what about now? What happens when we try to look at this question not through ancient texts, but through the lens of modern science and psychology? Well, there are actually a few fields of study that are trying to find some kind of hard empirical evidence. You've got things like parapsychology and studies into mediumship and therapists who practice past life regression. But probably the most serious scientific effort is focused on something called near-death experience research. And one of the biggest projects to ever tackle this was called the AWARE study. I mean, this was a huge deal, a massive study across multiple hospitals. The goal was to scientifically figure out if people have any awareness, any experiences at all during the time they are clinically dead, like when their heart stops beating. The results? Honestly, they were pretty stunning. They found that nearly 40% of the people who were resuscitated from cardiac arrest remembered something.
They reported having some form of awareness during that period when, for all medical purposes, they were dead. Wild, right?
So even with all this, thousands of years of faith, decades of scientific inquiry, the question is still there. It's still one of the biggest, most enduring mysteries we have. We just don't know for sure. But maybe the point isn't the answer itself. The fact that we have all these different, incredible, complex beliefs, from reincarnation to resurrection, that tells you something really important about us. It shows that we, as humans, have this universal, deep-seated need to find meaning in the fact that our lives have an end. And maybe that's the real takeaway here. The power of asking what happens when we die isn't really about what happens then. It's about how it makes us think about what we're doing now. If you really knew for certain what was coming next, would you change how you're living today? That's the real question, isn't it? Thanks for joining me for this explainer.